All right, Mr. Omar, I see that we have 7 attendees. Shall I start or shall we wait for a few more minutes?
Doctor, if you can, we can wait another minute just to allow.
Yeah, sure.
Give them
no problem.
more than time to join. I think Dr. Ann is good to go now.
All right, Mr. Omar, thank you very much. I was already looking at the team chat, at the meeting chat, to wish everyone a good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our workshop this time on design thinking. I'm going to close this. I see that we are 12 people in the meeting, and from the meeting chat, I understood that we have people attending from UAE, but even someone from South America. So very welcome. That's the advantage of online workshops, isn't it? That you can join from wherever, whenever, right? Now, I also saw a question about translations. So what I can do, I can start up a translation app, but you have to have it installed on your phone as well. So the app, it is called Microsoft Translator. So if you go to the App Store, you click on you search for Microsoft Translator, and then you download it. I will give you the code then to start translation. All right, you can choose any language. What is your preferred language, and the app will translate it to that language in real time. Okay, so just to type it in the meeting chat. And for those of you who just want to try out this new gadget, try it out. It's very interesting how well it translates actually. So the name of the app, it's now in the meeting chat. It's called Microsoft Translator. If you use your phone, you can go to the App Store and try to download Microsoft Translator. Okay, so meanwhile, I'm going to start. Oh yeah, and I need to give you the code for that, of course. Now, first of all, I also apologize if you hear any noise on the background. I have 3 little creatures running around there, and you might hear them now and then. Let's not get distracted by them. The door is locked with the keys, so they're not going to interrupt us. Now, the code for the Microsoft Translator is as follows. I'm starting a conversation now. And if you want to use the Translator app or just try it out, the code is ZQPWC. Okay, ZQPWZ is the code for Microsoft Translator. Okay, so enter. All right. Yes, Mr. Omar?
Yeah, Doctor, I think there's a new Mentimeter code. I think we need to correct it. So if you can just present a new one now.
All right, yeah, I will do that
Yes.
too. In just a second. First, let me do this presenter mode. Back. All right, I think the Microsoft Translator app is working. So I'm just going to leave my phone here, and while I'm talking, it's going to translate for you. If you want this translation, it's ZQPWC. All right. So Marco, you're missing one letter. And Dr. Alia, you're missing one letter. It's in the meeting chat. ZQPWC. Perfect. Thank you, Marco. Excellent. All right. Oh, I didn't share. I'm sharing with all panelists. You're right. Let me just change that in the chat. Share with all panelists. And yeah, ZQPWC is Microsoft Translator code. Translator code. All right, now that's it. I'm not going to look at the chat for now in the Zoom because we're using multiple instruments at the same time. So I'm going to leave the chat for what it is. You can see the translation now on Microsoft Translator. I'm leaving it on so you can see it translated live to any language that you prefer. I'm going to start our workshop. Okay, and for our workshop, we're also going to use Mentimeter. So I just had the request to refresh. So I'll just do that in case we have a new Mentimeter code. And then our technical supporter, Mr. Omar, will type the Mentimeter code, the appropriate one, in the meeting chat, I'm sure. Together we'll figure it out. Let's improvise a little bit. First things first, my name is Dr. Anne van Ewijk. I'm your host or facilitator of this workshop for today. I'm Associate Professor of Management at Abu Dhabi University. I've been working here for the last, I think this is my 7th year. And before that, I was a management consultant for various consulting companies, among them KPMG. And I focused on change management, culture change, executive training, in different sectors. So finance, retail, national or international, smaller companies and large multinationals like Nike or Montblanc. Now, here at Abu Dhabi University, I teach entrepreneurship. I also teach leadership, organizational behavior, qualitative research methods in the bachelor, in the master, and in our doctorate program. So I'm all over. But of course, I only teach the nice topics. And today I'm here with you to share with you the basic insights of design thinking and the design thinking process. It's just to give you a little taste of a topic that is very trending and very popular, which is how can we use techniques to make ourselves more creative. Some of us believe we are very creative. Well, let's see how we can channel that in a more structured approach. Others believe that we are not creative. Now let's see how we can use techniques to unlock that creativity. All right. Now let's see. Okay, so a little bit about Abu Dhabi University, and then quickly I'll go into the workshop. Yes,
yeah, Dr.
Omar.
If you can just if you can put the voting instruction code on the upper.
Oh yeah, I thought I would do it when we will reach the first vote, but that's okay. Here we go. So we're also going to choose, So we're also going to use Mentimeter. For those of you who don't know what Mentimeter is, it is a website where you can go to on your phone. So you'll have to close the Microsoft Translator app, Meanwhile, translation will go on, and you go to the website. So you don't have to install any app. You just go to the website, www.menti.com. It's on the top of the screen right now. Now, there you will find that you can use a code, and this code it is 8021258. Now it will only become active as soon as I ask you a question. So don't panic if nothing happens. Nothing happens yet, only when we get to this interactive part of our workshop. All right. So Abu Dhabi University, we offer lots of postgraduate programs. I believe you have, most of you are coming from either high school or are doing undergrad. So I won't go too deep into that, but it's MBA, Master in Human Resource Management. It's a Master Strategic Leadership for more experienced professionals. We have an Executive MBA, and then, like I said, we have a doctorate. Now, undergraduate, it goes from the generic bachelor, which is business administration. So I have lots of students there, but you can also choose a major, which would be finance, accounting, HRM, management, or digital marketing. And one of my favorites, which is not here yet, it's entrepreneurship. So this spring, I will guide the first three students who are going to graduate in that program. So I'm looking forward to that. Then we offer lots of other opportunities to broaden your horizon. You can study abroad and take the credits that you earn there back with you, so that it actually helps you to get your degree here. We also have some dual degrees where you can do part of your studies here and the other part of your studies in other countries. Now, most of our graduates have a job, and that's great. We do an alumni survey, and 91% of them indicated that within 1 year of graduation, they are at work. They're either in public or private sector firms, and you can see a whole list there, but they're at work and they're happily working. So that's great. Now, there are also scholarships, financial aid. Myself, I'm a professor, so I'm not that much into admin or details related to registration or admin. But if you have any questions about registration or admission, just you can let me know. You can send it to me. I'll forward it to the right person, or just type it in the meeting chat, and I'm sure Mr. Omar, our IT supporter of the day, will guide you in the right direction too. Finally, we reached the part that I'm most interested in, which is the virtual design thinking workshop for innovation. Now, first of all, let me explain very briefly what the design thinking process is. So design thinking, it consists of several phases that are here now very nicely aligned from left to right, but you're not always going through the phases like that. Okay, so this is an ideal type of the process. Let's just see. The first phase is empathize. Typically after that you define, after that you ideate, after that you prototype, and after that you test. This feels like a very logical order, but you will see that in real life, sometimes you're ideating, then you realize where you're ideating, you need to go back to defining what is exactly the need or the problem that you want to solve. And maybe even go back further and talk to people who are involved and finding out what their situation is, so that you will be better in defining their problems and your ideas will be more to the point. So as you can see, you can go back and forth, right, between these phases. It's not a fixed order. But we're going to go through that in the fixed order, just so that we have a structure for our workshop, right? Now, typically, another principle in the design thinking process is that you always have two movements going on. One movement is where you create choices. So, for example, let me go back. When you empathize and define, typically what you do is you diverge, you open your mind, and you create more choices for yourself than you actually thought you had by creating lots of ideas, by creating a lot of insights about people that you want to do something for. There should be a need for your new service or product, otherwise why develop it? You will have more insights, you'll have more needs that they might have that you can work with, and you have more solutions for those needs. So all of that makes you create more choices for yourself. Then there is a point always in a design thinking cycle, and just call it a cycle, although I presented it as a line, where you converge. So you make choices again. So if you have a lot of insights from empathy about what is important to the people or the group of people that you want to mean something for, you have to, in the end, converge when you define their needs and then choose one of the needs to then start applying your ideation techniques and creating ideas and solutions. If you start creating ideas for all the different needs that you identified, you will become lost. So it's very important to use the diverging and the converging at the right time in your design thinking process. And don't worry, some of the things I say, they sound like magical language now, but it will all become clear for you in this hour. 45 minutes, I see only left. Okay, so first step is to observe with empathy. You can observe, you can also participate, and that way you create the empathy. Now, what does empathy means and why is it so important as a first step, right? Empathy, literally, it means the intellectual identification with or vicarious experiencing, so that means you're really involved in it, of the feelings, thoughts, or attitudes of someone else. So it doesn't mean that you already want to help that person and think of solutions and to make his or her life better. It just means that you understand what that person is going through, because only if you truly understand what bothers people or what frustrates people or what people might really want, even though they don't even know they want it yet. I mean, who could have specifically asked for a smartphone, right? No one did that, but we did express the desire to see each other while we were calling, right? And that's what engineers started to work with. So empathy is just to understand the needs and wants, yeah, of others. Now we're going to do, this is a workshop, so this means that you have to participate. Now it's very important that you all go to this website. I'm going to show it to you again. Show voting instructions. Go to www.menti.com. So this is not a workshop where I tell you, don't use your phone, put it away, don't let yourself be distracted. I'm telling you, take your phone, go to this website and enter the code 8021258. You can even scan the QR code to make it really quick. Okay, I'm assuming you're all there now. Tell me you're all there now. Check the chat. Are you all there now? Let me know. Type it in the chat. I'm here. I'm ready. I don't see anyone typing in the chat. Are you there? I see Anajat. Yes. Safa. Yes. Who else is there? Marco is in. Fatin is there. 4 of you. Great. I see Basma. We should be 12. Everyone else, are you there? Any issues? You can also just type it if there's any issues. Typically, we all have our phones and they're our best working devices. Okay, Maurice, Tanzil, tell me again. All right, so I'm keeping it on the screen. You can see here, take your phone, go to your Safari or your Google Chrome or whatever you use to surf the internet. Go to www.menti.com and type this code. Okay, the code is going to stay in screen, so don't worry. I'm going to continue here. Now I'm going to show you some pictures. You see a lady with a white jacket on the left. You see a lady with a pink jacket in the middle. And you see a gentleman in the kitchen on the right. Now for each of these pictures, I think I'm going to skip the middle one because otherwise we'll be short on time. For these pictures, we're going to answer 3 questions. And there's a reason why I'm going to answer these 3 questions in this particular order. Okay, so for the first picture here, now in Menti, you'll be able to answer. Wait, stop typing. Don't submit your entry yet. Okay, here I want you to describe with facts purely what you see. Do not make any interpretation of this picture. Just describe what is happening as if you describe it to a blind person on the other end of the phone, or a person on the other end of the phone who cannot see this picture. Make it very factual. You can focus on materials, you can focus on colors, you can focus on posture, you can focus on the gender, although, well, it's kind of clear. Okay, only factual observations, please. So now feel free to submit. So on the menti.com with that code 802125.8. Now feel ready, go get ready and submit. You can submit, I think, up to 3 things. So submit the facts that you see. I'm going to wait a little bit and do not give any interpretations. Like I said, focus on facts, materials, objects, posture, colors. Okay. Now here we go. These are your answers, ladies and gentlemen. So there's a word cloud with your answers. And I love how you have stuck to the assignment and kept your stayed inside the box and really focused on facts. What we see there is books. There's a library. Okay, library is already almost an interpretation, but okay, can be in someone's house, right? Bookshelves, picking a book, but you're good. Lady with long hair, woman, white coat. Short lady, okay. High, bookcase, book, ladder. All right, I'm going to show you another one. Same picture, but with a different question. Now I want you to answer the question, what is going on? What's going on here? So I'm going to give you some time and close the window so we have a bit less noise. And please type, what is going on here?
Doctor, I think you are muted.
Unmute. So I hope you all have your questions to this, your answers to this question. What is going on here? There we go. And there comes your word cloud. Well, the lady is picking a book. She's trying to reach it. Well, she might be a selective reader because she only wants some of the books. Well, the girl's trying to pick it. She's balancing by holding the shelf and she's pulling out a book. Might be an interesting book that she wants. She's interested in it. All right, great. Maybe there's scientific research going on here. Oh, I like that too. Come on with those interpretations. Go wild. What's going on here? Yeah, reaching, looking for scientific research. I think the scientific research is the most far-fetched one. So this is good because now I asked you to go out there. Going to the next and last question. Now here, I want you to answer the question. So what is it that this lady needs? What is it that she needs? So you have to think a bit deeper, because if she's doing scientific research, then if she's doing scientific research, then she's maybe selecting books for her research, or she needs information. But what is it that she needs? I'm going to give you a moment here to type your answers. And remember that you can type multiple answers. What is it that she needs? I'm going to check out the word cloud so far. People find this more difficult. There they come. Perfect. You're all just typing. What does she need? Someone says she needs a book. Someone else says she needs information. You understand already that information is wider than a book. It will give you, we're diverging now. Others say, well, she needs reliable references, or she needs entertainment if it's a book for entertainment. She needs maybe a prop for a theater play. Who knows? She needs cross references because she has had some information. She needs to check if that's the case. She needs to improve an idea. Great. Now, one thing I'm going to compliment all of you on is this. You have survived the first challenge of empathy. And the first challenge of empathy is that you see something and you immediately think very linea recta, very direct to one practical solution, which would be thinking, oh, she's reaching for something. She needs a chair. She needs stairs. Instead of suggesting such a very physical object, you are already diverging much more. Because if you say she needs information, then you can also think, so what's she doing there in the library? Yeah. And if she needs information, what other solutions would we have to get her that information or to help her to cross-reference something? We're going to do another one just for you to prove to me that you got the points. Here we are. So stay on menti.com. Now you will see this picture. And it is, at least for working parents, a very recognizable picture, whereby this gentleman is inside in the kitchen. And I'm just saying it's a working parent, but maybe he's not. Yeah? He's in the kitchen and there is a little girl, right? So what do you see? I'm going to stop giving you the answers. What do you see? Stick to the facts. Objects, persons, actions that you can see are happening. What's going on here? What do you see? You see an exhausted dad, love of daughter, laptop. We see paperwork. We see a computer. Yeah. Where are we? No one mentioned the kitchen yet. It's kind of recognizable in the background. Great. Parents, burnout. Yeah. Now, be very careful, because more than what you did in the first exercise, you are giving interpretations. When you say exhausted, you are already given an interpretation to the pose that he has, right? You could have said, man sitting in a kitchen, leaning his head on hand. Your interpretation, that means exhausted. Your interpretation, that means burnout. So be very careful to separate your factual observations from your interpretation, because even if we do field research as innovators, we might project onto others what we would feel in that situation. We might project onto others what we would think in that situation. And the problem there is that maybe you're incorrect. Let's go to the next one. Here, now, now let's work with the exhausted and the burnout and the, so what's going on? What's going on here? What is going on here? Is this a parent? Is he exhausted? You can type those answers again. Why does he look like that? Who is that little girl on his lap? There's even something else next to the paperwork. I think it's a pot of coffee. What's going on here? Is he trying to work? Is he doing the home finances? Is there something that really worries him? Is his daughter comforting him, or is his daughter distracting him? What's going on here? So let's see. Now you say she's supporting her dad, comforting him. You can do it. He looks very confused. So maybe he's not exhausted. Maybe he's confused. The daughter is a bit worried. That's why she's hugging him. Exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed. And this is all going towards the dad, the man who we assume is the dad. Hannah is telling dad a secret. Who could be? And it's to cheer him up, or it worries him. We don't know. Paying the bills, consolation, comforting. Okay, so if you still have answering options left, is this then a homeworking dad, or is this someone who has problems with the bills? Multitasking, okay, extended hours. Maybe there's a peak in the project and it's way past work time, but he's still at home finishing up. Yeah. So it could be overtime because of a high pressure project. It could be the home working situation. It could be the daughter has told him something that he's very worried about. It could be a financial issue, right? All of these things might be going on. But then, okay, so what is the need? What is the need here? When you look at this picture and you have your idea of what is going on, now what do you think is the need that you can identify from this picture? What does, I'm not even going to finish that sentence because I don't want to put you on the wrong foot. What is the need? I'm just keeping it there. Sometimes it's better to ask short questions and not direct your audience in a certain way. Okay, what is the need here? I see already we have 3 answers. What is the need or what is needed? Okay, let's see, we have 7 answers, so we can start our word cloud. What is the need? The need is rest, quiet and peace. The need is some time management to be able to balance everything, work, private life. The need is to be open. The need is to make a deadline. The need is money. Okay, now do you realize that depending on what need you identify, it will depend, it will make that your ideas for solutions will go in a different direction. Because it's very different if you are going to ideate ways in which this stressed out parent can relax, find ways to relax, or in ways in which this parent can combine better work and life balance. Or perhaps when you look at money, ways in which you can help people manage their personal finance. Can you see that you would go in a completely different direction? And there's one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that you haven't mentioned at all. What does the girls need? You all focus on the gentleman in the picture. Perhaps the girl has needs too, and you can work with that. Okay, now, last and final question about this exercise would be, if you have identified all these needs, what would then be the next step? Just type it in a meeting chat, what you're going to do. What do you need to do? You've identified here at least 3-4 different needs. I'm going to the chat. Okay, I see needs in there. Yeah. What is the next step to do? You have now a list of 4 or 5 needs identified from the picture. What should you do before you go to creating ideas and solutions? Anyone? See another chat, someone there. Okay, people are still working on the quality time together. Yes, if that's the need. And if you have identified also time management, ways to relax after for people who are stressed situations. Yeah. Ways to connect with your children better. Now what? If you have identified all these needs, then what do? You go on and you start creating 1,000 ideas? Is that it? Of course, the answer is no. If not, I wouldn't be pushing so much on it, right? You shouldn't. There is one thing you have to do, because all you have done now is look. All you have done now is made your interpretation and your observations from a picture. Ideally, before you go into thinking of solutions, you need to check with that person to see if your interpretation of the situation was correct. Yeah. So now I showed you a picture because we can't do much else in an online workshop. But typically what you would do is you as an inventor will talk to people. And while talking to people, you identify needs and you check with them if that is really something that they're interested in. Because really, we don't know from the picture. Next slide, here we go. Yeah, So what are needs then? So needs are physical needs, perhaps. They need to be warm, they need to eat. But it can also be psychological needs, time management, relaxing after stress, cultural requirements, conveying a certain image, or can be of an individual, it can be of a group, but all those needs are things that are not met through existing solutions. Okay. And those needs then typically take on the form of verbs. So not a word. So you wouldn't already think of solutions like the girl is reaching for a book, she needs a stair. No, she needs to feel informed about a certain topic. Okay. Or as I've given examples there below on the slide, the need to feel empowered. The need to appear knowledgeable. The need to feel in control of your life when home working. The need to be trusted. Think of a car mechanic, for example. It's an extremely important need that's not always met because of the lack of information that customers have and then the natural distrust that follows, as in you know everything about it. I don't, so are you telling me the truth? So that would be a need in the form of a verb. Now, typically, like I said, it's not only from observing from pictures that you derive these insights or that you formulate the needs. You really need to immerse yourself. So as an upcoming inventor, as someone who would one day like to launch a business and with a new product or a new service and improve the world, you'll have to observe and engage. Another example, okay, of how this was done in the past. Now, it is a very tragic statistic that of the 130 million babies born each year, approximately 4 million die in the first 28 days, okay? Particularly in India, the death rate among infants is high because of the number of premature born children. Okay, premature born children that are born before the 9 months, as you know, they are smaller, they are weaker, and they often need time in an incubator. So there was a team, actually it was a team of students at Stanford University who really wanted to do something about this problem. And they thought, all right, so we need to go there. We need to go to India to find out what is happening and why are these premature children dying, right? So they went to the hospitals to check if maybe they could help improve the efficiency of the incubators. Yeah, the incubator is like you see in the picture, as a kind of a glass house, baby goes in and is given life support. Now, what they found in these hospitals in India were perfectly working incubators, and more than half of them were empty. And then they looked at each other and said, so the problem is not the incubators. It's not how they work, and it's not that there are not enough. But where are all these babies? What do you think happened? What do you think was causing the death of so many premature infants? Well, the incubators were just lying empty in the hospital. Why? Why were these babies not here? Please type it in the meeting chats. Why were these babies not in the incubators that were available in the hospital? Yeah, so resource misallocation, definitely. Can you elaborate a bit on that, Marco? Poverty, definitely cities. So how is poverty preventing people from putting their children in the hospital? Yeah. Poverty, birth at home, families might not trust hospitals, which is then related to ignorance. Poverty, great, Cynthia, how you're building up cities. Answer that they don't have enough money. For what then? They don't have enough money to have their child in the hospital. They probably don't even have a health insurance. Yeah. And then poverty also affects, if you look at, and when you said resource misallocation, it means maybe that the babies are not born nearby the hospital. They are born in the countryside or in big cities far away from hospitals. And the parents don't have the time, they're working, they don't have the time to take the baby to the hospital. Yeah. So it's a combination of things that is making that the babies did not come to the hospital. So what did the students do? I'm going to close the chat now. I'm sorry if I haven't addressed all the answers, just because you're so interactive and we are multiple people. So what did the students do? They went to find the babies. So they went to the countryside and they found people who were having in villages, who would of course also have premature babies. And they were talking to them and discussing. And so why did you go to the hospital? And this and that. And does it happen often? And they found out that what would really help these communities was not another incubator in the hospital, because they were there lying empty anyway. It was something that would allow them to keep their babies close while continuing their daily work. And that's when they started designing this little sleeping bag that you see over there. The little blue, dark blue, light blue, white sleeping bag. And this sleeping bag, it had a compartment in it that was a heating compartment. And that compartment, you could take it out, you could plug it in, make sure that it was warm again, then shove it back in, because that's what the baby needs, right? Heat. And while they were testing that out with the local communities and keep talking to the people who would use it, they found other needs. For example, when you look at the final design, so this is a real product that was developed, you see the heating compartment and you see the little sleeping bag incubator. They also found out that because these babies are so small, they tended to slide down. So the mothers would be worried because they couldn't see the baby and they didn't know what was going on. So they made a little window in the sleeping bag so that the mothers could see their babies. Now, you can look this product up, by the way. It's called Embrace, by Cocoon. And you can see how many items were sold for only a fraction of the cost that would otherwise have cost an incubator in a hospital. And they can be reused and recycled in the communities. But the product is not, of course, the protagonist of this story. The protagonist of this story is the importance of interacting with the communities to find out the real need and to develop something that would really help them and adjust the products. Okay, so what you need to do then, if you go and explore, the worst thing you can do is thinking that you're going to save the world and that you are already aware of what are the biggest issues. Yes, we know there are big issues with the environment. There are big issues in terms of war and political repression. However, big change starts small. And if you are an innovator and you want to change the world, why not do it by designing products or services that in the end change everyone's life for the best? Yeah. And so what you should do when you're talking with people is not to judge, be really curious. So intrinsically curious. You're not just talking to them to get a new idea for product or service. You really just want to get to know them. And more details and more details and more details, and question everything like a toddler. That's why I included the picture. Ask why all the time. Drives people crazy, but if you just explain what it is for and show your intrinsic interest, they will be okay with that. Okay, be a good listener and then identify patterns. Hey, what this gentleman is saying, it's very similar to what that lady was saying, but it was a completely different context. Let's check that with another neighbor or with someone in a similar situation in a different city. Okay, what you can do then to map those patterns is make a mind map. So I've just included an example of a mind map. You can see it in the slide. And you can see how you can map then what people say. So make it very factual of the quotes. Then what people do. So this is all observable and can be checked by other people. Usually maybe you're not alone. You're more than one person. You can check that with each other. What are the actions that they're actually doing? Oh, they see the line is very long. The queue is very long. What did they do? They go in line. They walk away. They do something else. They sneak in. Yeah. What do people do? Then you brainstorm with your team. What do you think they're thinking? So when they say this, what are they actually thinking? When they do this, what they're actually thinking, and also what they're feeling. And when you separate that, so you become very analytical in your observations, it's going to lead you to very interesting insights that will help you to develop more appropriate solutions. All right, question for you again. So in the Mentimeter, in the menti.com, use the same code. I hope you didn't leave the page, so just stay on it for the rest of this workshop. And tell me the last time you were creative. When was it? Last week? Yesterday? This morning? 1 year ago? Just type your answer. What was it? In the menti.com. So take your phones, not in the meeting chats, in the Menti. So take your phones, go to www.menti.com and type, what was the last time you were creative? Was it last week? Was it yesterday? Was it a year ago? I see here already today or 2 years ago. So it's your definition of creative. It's last summer, you suddenly became really creative. You wrote a book in the past week, yesterday, a few minutes ago, today. All right. Last week. Great. Anoud, I see that you're raising your hand. If you don't mind, I'll keep all the questions for the end. Yeah. You can type it already in the Q&A. I'll also take a look there. Okay. So please lower your hand, Anoud. All right. Being interviewed for a school project for my son last week made you very creative. Nice. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So we also have this question. So many of you indicate that you were creative just now or this morning, or so give yourself a score then and be very honest with yourself. I mean, I am not going to check it for sure. The fellow attendees are not going to check it. How creative are you from 1 to 10? When 1 is not at all and 10 is super creative. So just use your phone to go to the menti.com. And in menti.com, give your answer. So what we can see on the screen is your collective results. So we won't see individual scores, so don't worry. Hopefully that will stimulate others to come, participate. Go to the menti.com and tell us how creative you are. We will get an accumulation of the results, so don't worry, no individual scores. So far from 15 participants, your average is 8.4. With, I see, someone scored maybe 5 in the middle, and most are between 6 and 10. Okay, good score, that's nice. And that coincides with the idea that is in design thinking that everyone is creative. And you just need to get in the right mindset. And maybe that comes more natural to you, or maybe you need a little push in the right direction. Yeah. What often happens is that we all start creating. I mean, look at our, if you still have them, drawings that we made in kindergarten, right? But people opt out of thinking themselves as creative. When we grow, when we are evaluated. Now, if you're interested in that, and this is what in design thinking is called a growth mindset, that you have the idea that even if you're not good at something, you can still grow into it. You can go to this TED conference, and I put there David Kelly. So if you type David Kelly, build your creative confidence, you'll find a very nice talk of him about how you can do that. Most of you don't need it though, so I'm just gonna test this. Now, typically, once we have identified a need, you go to our solutions. Now, because we're not working with one need now, I'm just going to test you with the alternative use exercise. It's a kind of a way to warm up your mind for more creative and out-of-the-box thinking, while using the resources that you have available to you. Okay, you're not making it up out of nothing. Now, the first exercise, we're not going to do all of these. I think we'll do the rock and the office gossip. Okay, so here we are. Go to the menti.com or stay there, like I said, and tell me, what can you use a large rock for? Give me all the uses that you can think of for a large rock. So we have a large rock. What can you do with it? And don't be afraid to give crazy ideas. Don't be afraid to give illegal ideas. Keep it civil, of course, but you can think in more out of the box, magical solutions. What can you use a large rock for? What can you do with it? Building is a very good one. You can use it in a building. What else can you do with a large rock? Type it in the Menti. What can you do with a rock? Yep, you can smash someone. It's not very nice. It can be a weapon. Maybe you can use it for cooking. If you heat the rock and then you can cook something on it. Yeah, particularly if it's flat. It can be decoration. So actually I have one in front of my house. Looks very nice. Yeah, handcraft. So you do something creative with it. Make like sculpture maybe even with it. Use it as a support so that something doesn't blow over or fall over. Can be an outdoor seat. Oh, I love all these answers coming in. Thank you for that. So he hiding a hole in the ground. So you see all these different uses, right? Imagine now you are, I think still 16 participants, and here are all these different uses for one single little item. Great, thank you. Another one would have been the chair, but I'm going to skip it because we're short on time. But you can see that a chair, it has its usual traditional function to sit on. If we would do this one, for sure, it would all come up with lots of different ones. Also the coat hanger. Now this one, I want you to practice it. So now we have a person, not an object. And you're working in a team and you want to improve organizational performance, as we all want. Yeah. You're working in a team and there's one person in the office that is always gossiping or always knows the latest gossip about everyone and everything. It's not like you dislike that person. You don't particularly like the person, not dislike the person. There's no emotional feeling there, but it is a person that gossips a lot. How can you put this person to use? Please type an answer. How can you put this person to use? What can be the use, the value, the use of an office gossip? So see, Leah, you've raised your hand. If you don't mind, can you type it in the meeting chat while everyone else is typing their use of the office gossip? This is a challenge because it's harder, because it's a person we're talking about. All right, Alia, maybe you can unmute yourself and just ask your question while we're waiting for everyone to get inspiration. Go ahead, please. Alia, I think you'll have to unmute yourself, or do I have to do that? Ah, okay, I have to do that. All right, I'm going to find Alia. Okay, Alia, I think I allowed you to talk.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, it took me a while.
How are you?
Go ahead, please. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Just we lost the translator. You don't speak with the translator or what?
Great. I see why. Because my phone has less than 20% battery left. So I just activated it again. And you can see it right now working, I guess.
Shukran, thank you.
So thank you for letting me know, Alia. All right, great. So I see now that we have our word cloud, because this was a more difficult question, right? So we had, how can we use the person that gossips and that knows all the gossip in the office? Well, we can use him or her as a source of information for ourselves. Information about what? Well, to get the latest news, to have some good ideas, because he or she can repeat the ideas of others. the latest updates, editing the office paper, because as the person has all the information, why not summarize it and make use of it that way? Spread news, access to confidentiality, perhaps also information about how other people are feeling, and you can put that to use by addressing any potential negative feeling, doing something that will then help people to relate together. Great. So I loved this one because it shows that you are capable of thinking of all kinds of functions that this person might have, although it's a person. So it is not an exercise that is limited to objects. You can also do it with people. So particularly if you don't like someone because of his or her qualities, particularities, personality, way of working, try to think of what alternative use you can make of it. And you'll find that often you will reach a much more productive work relation. Now let's go on. And as I said, this was a warming up for becoming more creative. Now, typically what you need to do is you have to have one conversation at a time, go for quantities and be brief with the ideas, postpone judgment, build on the ideas of others. So you can say not, no, but this is, but, okay, you can say yes, and encourage crazy ideas. So when you're in the ideation phase, you have a need that you want to address, try to go crazy, magical, and illegal. Yeah. And then you can always bring it back to something that is possible. For example, I did this exercise myself when I was working with a team in Stanford. And our challenge was how to get children to eat more vegetables. So one of our crazy magical ideas was that we magically transform the color of the vegetables just like that. And that's very funny. And then kids will be entertained and more likely to eat. In the end, we translated that idea back to edible paint that you can give the kids on the table, and then they can paint their own vegetables and eat it. It still hasn't come to market, but you see how going out of the limits of what is possible will then be, you can then later translate back to something that is possible. Okay. Oh, and one last thing. It's very difficult to be creative if needs are formulated like solutions. If you say the lady in white who is reaching for a book needs a chair or needs a step, then you will understand that if you start to think about what different steps are there, what different ways to get up, ladder, step, chair, it becomes very limited. Yeah. If you say she needs information, she needs to be informed, then you can go much wider, you can diverge much more. Imagine, so we're not going to do this one then, when you were in my classroom, right? I can see, by the way, we're 35, so that's a nice classroom. I would split you in the middle. To half of you, I would say, give me ideas on how to enjoy flowers at home. Okay. To the other ones, I would say, give me ideas on how to design a vase to put flowers in at home. You see how many ideas might come up, but the ideas in the group that had the very open question, how to enjoy flowers, will go much wider than the ones who were asked to design a vase. Yeah. Okay. I see actually that we have only 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to skip over this and go to the questions and answers. So typically what you will do then next, and this is the last phase then in the design thinking process, is that you're testing your idea. So once you scribble down, you take 2 minutes to describe, you get some feedback. You take 2 minutes to describe, you get some feedback. Because like we saw with the embrace, with the little incubator, the little sleeping bag that Indian mothers could use for their premature babies, the product kept evolving itself because of the use and the talks that the designers had with the users on an iterative basis. Iteration, it means you repeat the cycle. So there we are. Empathize, ideate, prototype, and test. the main phases in the design thinking process and a very good way in which to unlock your creativity, but also structure it in a way that you end up with a product or a service that might actually be marketable. And so I didn't want to say but before, I used to say but, and just remember that innovation, it also means that you sell. Being creative is nice, but if you want to innovate and you really want to make a change, it means that you have to sell your creative idea to others and be able to scale it on a larger scale, yeah, grow it, have more users. Now, these two inventors, for example, that are mentioned there, they are the classic example of an inventor, yeah. Thomas Edison, I would say, is from the two the more famous one. And he's famous for the light bulb and for many other things. But in the end, his greatest talent, it was not just ideas, it was the marketing, raising funds to then further develop the ideas and communicating them to others in an understandable way. Because everything he did was new. And if you talk about it in your way, you might not get others people's buy-in. Robert Fulton, he was credited for inventing the steamboat, but he didn't invent the steamboat. There were multiple people who invented the steamboat at the same time. The steam machine was there, boats were there. More people than one came with the idea. But in reality, he was the best one at marketing it. So if you want to be a successful inventor, after going through the design thinking process, make sure that you also have the buy-in of your target group. People that support you, understand you, and are willing to spread the word with you. And that is the content of my workshop. I know we've reached 5 o'clock, but for me, it's fine. I would love to dedicate 10 more minutes to just questions and answers. So I'm going to go to the chat. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to the chat, I'm going to the Q&A. If you have any questions, please just type them there. I see that some of you have already had to leave, like Maurice. That's perfectly fine. I've spent more time than I should have. So please do feel free to type your questions there. I'm willing to stay a few more minutes just to help you out there if needed. Otherwise, I wish you a great evening and perhaps we'll meet again. So Q&A or raise your hand if you want me to unmute you. I found out how that works. And otherwise, just type your question in the chat. And you're welcome, Cynthia, Basma, Michelle, Maurice, Fatin. Very welcome and thank you for your participation. All right, Mace, Lourdes, Tanzil. I see many people saying goodbye or thank you, but really, if you still have a question, just type it there. I don't mind at all. I'll just stick around for a few minutes. The rest of you, I wish you a great evening and hope to see you again. All right, now let me check the Q&A. Thank you, Omar. I think we don't have any questions.
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
So all been answered, I think, and yeah. So thank you for the informative session today.
And thank you for your IT support, Mr. Omar. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great evening.
Goodbye.